So there are a lot of stereotypes that typify the average Seattleite. For example, we're all supposed to be in great shape and love the outdoors. Thanks, Morgan. We're all supposed to read all the time and go to the movies all the time.
Because it's always raining like it is now.
It's always raining. We love our coffee. We really do love our coffee.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Hourly.
But one of the funniest stereotypes is that we eat salmon all the time.
Every day.
So in today's MOHAI Minute, we're going to take a quick look at this cultural icon, this food staple, this major industry, salmon. I'm Helen and Peder.
And I'm Peder Nelson, and this is your MOHAI Minute.
Salmon has played a prominent role in Pacific Northwest culture for centuries, beginning with this region's first peoples who developed sophisticated techniques for gathering and preserving fish, techniques they still use.
According to oral histories collected by the Delrich History Project, salmon used to be so plentiful on the Duwamish River that it seemed that men could cross the river by walking over the backs of salmon.
When settlers began arriving in the Puget Sound in the mid-1800s, it didn't take long for them to realize that this pink fish was a tasty and nutritious natural resource that could be easily capitalized upon. Soon after, fishing was one of our region's major industries.
Coincidentally, as fishing techniques were modernizing, allowing fishermen to catch thousands more fish than ever before, so were techniques for preserving food, particularly in the form of canning food. Canning salmon enabled local entrepreneurs to preserve their highly perishable product and then sell it to markets all over the world.
But the salmon canning industry would hit a substantial roadblock in 1882, just as our nation was hurtling towards one of the worst depressions in our country's history. A law called the Chinese Exclusion Act was passed.
And at this time, the majority of salmon butchers in West Coast canneries were Chinese. And the Exclusion Act resulted in the loss of this highly trained and relatively cheap labor force, meaning big losses for the salmon canneries locally.
So one local owner of a salmon cannery, Edmund Smith, invented this machine that's behind us. It's called the iron chink. And there's no doubt about it. When Smith used the derogatory term chink, he wanted to suggest that his machine would be able to replace the skilled Chinese laborers upon whom he depended, as well as upon whom all the canneries down the West Coast depended. The idea that you could cross this river by walking over the backs of salmon is probably an exaggeration. But one thing is for sure, and that's the fact that man's relationship with this river and the salmon that inhabit it has changed dramatically over time.
Absolutely. The Duwamish River is considered a Superfund site, which means that it's one of the most contaminated areas in the entire country. You can still catch salmon here, but you have to be careful when you prepare it, because the salmon contain a lot of toxins from the water.
Oddly enough, Washington State's official fish is not salmon, but the steelhead trout.